So let's continue this Eagles conversation with a guy that was not only in the locker room after the Eagles lost to the Chargers at SoFi on Monday night, but he's covered this team for 14 years. You should read him. If you don't, you should read not only Zach Berman on The Athletic every day, but his book chronicling that amazing run last year is called Leap Year. That is out as well. It makes a great stocking stuffer or holiday gift. Zach Berman of The Athletic joins us now in Inside Coverage. Did you get some sleep on the red eye going home?
I did. I had to finish my story, and then I got about an hour and a half, 2 hours of sleep. So running on fumes, but this is the highlight today, getting a chance to speak with you.
Come on. You're full of it. You shovel it well, Zach. I appreciate you. You wrote last week about the positivity rabbit or some inflatable Easter bunny looking thing they had in the locker room. And I believe the quote you had last week was, "Vibes are high." Were vibes high? What were the vibes after that game last night?
And that was a dejected team. That game, that loss stung for obvious reasons. Right, when you lose in overtime on the last play, but just the way that game transpired, and Jalen Hurts really took it on him. He said, "This isn't we. This is I. I need to play better." That was his major point of emphasis. And when you have a career high 4 turnovers, career high 4 interceptions, 5 turnovers overall, that says something. And there's a lot that this team needs to fix, but it starts right now with the quarterback.
Are they fixable? Are those issues fixable? Or to quote Jason Kelsey's sister-in-law, I think I've seen this film before and I didn't like the ending, and this was 2023.
Yeah. That question's come up a lot, and this is different than 2023. And the reason I say it's different is because the defense this year is outstanding. You saw that last night. You saw the pressure that they had on Justin Herbert, and I think that obviously the offense must play better, and the sample size is large enough now where you're saying this isn't a blip. This is kind of who they are at this point. But there's so many players there who've built equity, whether you're talking about Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, an offensive lineman with 4 or 5 guys at a Pro Bowl caliber level, that if that side even plays close to expectations with the way the defense is playing, with the way the schedule shakes out, and with the advantage that they have on the Cowboys, this is a team that will host a playoff game. Right. And in 2023, they did not host a playoff game. They were on the road. That team was a mess at the end of the season, and it was both sides of the ball. So I look at it differently this year, but you can't really hang your hat on anything that this offense is doing.
Zach, everybody wants to focus on A.J. Brown's body language, and a lot of people, myself included, I've been in the camp that said, A.J., stop making it about yourself. And then when you keep reading in between the lines and you actually listen to what he's saying, he says, it's not about me, it's about the offense collectively. Mm-hmm. And I think I see it. I know I see it, actually. Chris Sims on NBC, I'm sure you've seen the clip, leaned in last week and said, this team has a Jalen Hurts problem. He is inflexible. They're not running a creative offense. It's stagnant. It's stale. And it starts with him. It isn't coaching, he said. It's coaching around an inflexible quarterback. What would you say to that?
Well, I'm not going to absolve the coaching here for the reason being that I've covered Jalen's whole career. The burden of proof is on the coaching here. Is on the new offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo, more so than the quarterback who's been the Super Bowl MVP, who succeeded in different ways under 3 different play callers, 4 different play callers if you include Sirianni those first few games in 21, but really 3 different play callers over the course of time here, and he's having his worst season. The offense is having their worst season right now under Patullo. That said, Jalen's the one touching the ball on every play. There are plays to be made that he's not making. He's not using his legs like he has in the past, and that's part of what makes him a special player. So I think a lot of this is on Jalen, but I don't think I can't let the coaching staff or the play calling off the hook here, because if you just look at the sample size, if you just look at these 5 years, and you have 5 years with Nick Sirianni, this is the worst the offense has performed. Much of the players are the same. The difference is the play caller.
Does Jalen Hurts not want to run the football, considering he's been hurt a couple of times over the last
Yeah.
few years, late in the season, running the football?
That's something you're hearing. Now, he pushes back on that. He says he'll do whatever it takes to win. But yeah, the facts are the facts that he was injured last year against Washington in December. In 22, he was injured when he was running the ball against Chicago, also in December. And there's kind of been this school of thought that it's a switch you can flip in the postseason.
Yeah.
And you saw the way he ran against Kansas City in the Super Bowl last year. That was really a difference in that game. And so I think there is a degree of validity to that. But if that is what's holding him back right now, if that is why they're not running it, then they need to flip that switch now, because it will make the entire offense better if Jalen runs more.
Talking to Zach Berman here, covers the Eagles for The Athletic and has done so for 14 years. He has a great book as well out about last year's season, a Super Bowl season, a championship season called Leap Year. I think Jalen Hurts, this is my opinion here, Zach, deserves the right to work out of this, but he's doing it obviously under intense scrutiny in a market that is absolutely unforgiving, in a market where, even when they're winning, the fans can be miserable. And they're doing so with this idea that they have to win another championship. You won it last year, you should win it this year. And I want to show him that grace and think that he could work out of it. But the other part of me says, Zach, the next 4 games could write his future. In Philadelphia, that is, his immediate future. We had a conversation before you came on and explored the world, the idea, the possibility that if it doesn't work out these last 4 weeks, or 5 weeks, going to January in the postseason, and that the Eagles flame out. Is there a world where Howie Roseman says it's time to move on?
Well, I've covered the Eagles long enough to never say never. I mean, they traded Carson Wentz before his record-breaking contract even commenced, right? So you never say never, but I don't think that is a likely scenario. First off, the equity that Jalen's built here, I think they would change some pieces around him more than they would change him. But Jalen obviously needs to play better, and Howie is always kind of considering whether it's the asset value of the player you have or the asset value of the other options. And it's interesting because behind the scenes, they really like Tanner McKee, the number 2 quarterback, and he's someone that they've held on to. But Jalen Hurts, I mean, he's the Super Bowl MVP. He was an MVP caliber player in 2022. In his 4 previous seasons as starter, he's made the playoffs every year. He's been to the Super Bowl twice, the NFC Championship game twice, and in the down year they won 11 games. If this is a down year, they're most likely still going to win the division. So I have a hard time seeing that happening, but I suppose you never say never. I think the more likely scenario is that the pieces around him kind of get shaken up.
It's hard to separate the team from the town, but if this weren't the Philadelphia Eagles, would we be having this conversation? I mean, if this were the Arizona Cardinals, not to in any way minimize Cardinals fans, but you get my point.
Yeah, and it is a good point, Andrew, because with the success he's had in most towns, you'd build a statue for that guy, right? And so I hear what you're saying. There is a lot of scrutiny, but to quote Jalen here, heavy is the head, right? I mean, it's a phrase he uses. He has shoes that are called that, heavy as the head, and this comes with the territory of being the quarterback for the Eagles. But as Jason Kelce says, you control your own narrative. If Jalen plays better, the city's got the criticism won't be as loud as it is during these past 24 hours. And the reality is, Jalen, I think, understands that the way he played on Monday night is simply not good enough.
Was it T.O.? Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm replaying NFL Films clips in my head. Was it T.O. who, instead of saying "you love to hate me," he said "you hate to love me"?
Is that what it was? I'll take your word
y'all
for it.
hate to love me.
Okay.
They love Jalen Hurts, but at the same time, I feel like he's just he's the easy foil here for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think with the way he played on Monday, it's merited, right? I think sometimes things can be unfair, but you throw with 4 interceptions in a game, it's the reality of the position. It's the reality of the situation. Uh, but he's still, I mean, make no mistake, he's still beloved in this town,
Yes.
and he is. I, I think over with the overall body of work, Donovan McNabb is probably the best quarterback in franchise history, but I'd say Jalen Hurts is the most accomplished quarterback in franchise history in that, 2 Super Bowls, Super Bowl MVP. Uh, so yeah, Jalen's legacy here is unmatched, and I don't think it's stopping anytime soon. I still expect him to be the quarterback here for a long time.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I want him to turn it around. I think he can. Obviously, everything here is in a spotlight. It's the Eagles. They won the Super Bowl. They're in prime time again last night. This wasn't some 1 o'clock Fox game to only 30% of the nation or even 5% of the nation. This was for the world to see. And it was a game that, look, sitting there in the stands, surrounded by Eagles fans, by the way. That was, what do you think, 70% Philly last night?
Yeah, that's typically the case when they go out west, for sure.
Yeah. Surrounded by Eagles fans. I thought I was at an Eagles home game, and everyone just assumed they're going to win it at the end.
Yeah.
And they almost did until they didn't. Zach, tell me about the book here as everyone can get ready to hand it out of the holidays.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So the book Leap Year here, and it takes you behind the scenes from the red confetti that fell in 2023 to the green confetti that fell in 2025. And so you spoke about that collapse of the 2023 season. That's documented here because that's part of the Eagles story. And then you really see how that 2024 team was created. You see behind the scenes of putting that roster together. Each week, what went into it, and it's interesting because you look back at it now, and Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie said it's perhaps the best team in modern football history. In week 4 last year, they weren't talking that way, and the way Nick Sirianni was thought about wasn't the case. So really, I think the on the scene, on the ground reporting comes through here, and then there's cutaway chapters about Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and Lane Johnson and Jalen Carter and Zach Bond and Darius Slay, where you really get a chance to know who these guys are under the helmet. Brandon Graham, I'm very fortunate, wrote the foreword for the book, one of the most storied players in franchise history. So I think it's a chance to see how the Eagles made that leap, literally, and then obviously Saquon Barkley made that leap in that magical season.
So cool to see Brandon Graham, by the way. Again, surrounded by Eagles fans watching the game. Yeah, get to the quarterback last night with his gray beard. Like it's actually great. It's funny you mentioned that the bye week last year. I saw them right after the bye. It was there with the Browns, and that team did not look good. They barely won that game. Sirianni's yelling at fans, walking to the tunnel. It was ugly. And then I saw them on the Sunday night when they came out here to beat up the Rams, and that's what they did. That offense was a bully that night last year. It was a bully. However, last night they were not a bully, and that's just so like the difference between last year's bully and then this year's offense is such a night and day proposition.
But the one thing I'll say is that literally this time last year, mid-December, the big story was the passing game was the problem. A.J. Brown was asked, "What's wrong?" He said, "Passing." Right, and then they go the next week. They have this outstanding game. Jalen Hurts said, "So that's what you all wanted to see, huh?" And then a month and a half later, they're hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. So everything they want is still in front of them, but the time is more narrow than it was 2 months ago.
Our time is tight here as well. Zach Berman of The Athletic, happy holidays to you, your family as well. Thanks for coming on, man. Enjoyed doing this.
Absolutely. Always great seeing you, Andrew.